So this is a little walking tour of downtown Washington where your tax dollars are at work. As you can see, building fairly stately monumental buildings and then fairly luxurious new buildings. And the purpose of this little video in what is now, I guess, called Penn Quarter. Back in the past, it would have just been called downtown DC. Now it's called Penn Quarter because it's along Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to go look at this new super luxury condo called City Center, which is built around 10th and H, 9th and I streets. It's where there used to be an old convention center in a parking lot. It was all torn down, and they built a new convention center a few blocks away near the Cato Institute, actually. Libertarians who would have opposed all this spending probably. Anyway, the new convention center cost $800 million. A little over $800 million. I believe that's the figure, which coincidentally is exactly what it would have cost to bury about 60% of the major overhead electrical cables in DC, in some of DC's older neighborhoods, including really expensive upper-class older neighborhoods. Any kind of older neighborhood that has trees and overhead power lines. Once or twice a year, thousands of people, usually tens of thousands in DC and tens of thousands more in Virginia and Maryland, have no power because there are storms that knock out trees and they fall over and tear down these tree branches. And for about what it cost to build the new convention center, we could have buried 60% of those power lines, and then almost nobody. There'd still be some people, but the overwhelming majority of people who now go without power would have it. Anyway, here's what we got for tearing down the old convention center and building the new one. These 2 blocks of luxury condos. They have a internal shopping mall restaurant area inside. They only have really expensive stores like Burberry's and Dolce & Gabbana, things like that. Up on the top of these 2 buildings are where Franklin Reigns, the guy who ran Fannie Mae when it crashed and helped create the housing crisis, he bought one for $1.5 million. I think $1.5 million is like a simple 1.5 bedroom up there. And Claire McCaskill, the senator from Missouri, bought one for $2.5 million. I think hers is probably a very large 2-bedroom. Anyway, they're up there where you see the balconies. Some of the ground floor shopping isn't even finished yet. This piece of DC actually looks like a fancy part of Manhattan, except of course in DC it's illegal to make a building over about 10 stories tall, so it's like Manhattan cut down to a 1/4 or a 1/5 or a 1/10 of its normal size. Besides the condos, there are also some expensive rentals here, I think. So here's a fancy restaurant for DC yuppies. Here's this internal mall. So basically an entire city block is 4 giant buildings of luxury condos and apartments where Claire McCaskill and Franklin Reigns now live. And then what would have been the alleys in the middle have been turned into this mall that you can't drive in. Actually, in this immediate area, you also can't ride a bicycle. There are signs that you have to get off and walk your bike. Not just in here, but in all the streets right around it. This piece is nice. You can see there's a Hermes store. And there's a Louis Vuitton store. There's this little piece hanging over. It's funny, this alley is named actually Palmer Alley, and of course, Tom Palmer is a well-known. Oh, there's a Dior store. Tom Palmer is a well-known libertarian activist who travels around the world like 007 and inspires libertarianism in Estonia and Kurdistan and God knows where else. Anyway, the alley is named Palmer Alley. I think that's funny. So, this is where the new upper-class housing is in D.C. in what used to be kind of a slummy downtown neighborhood. This is part of the old parking lot for the convention center, which is now a parking lot again. Here's there's Chinatown over there. It's kind of the very tail end of the K Street lobbying area over there. I'm going to attempt to cross the street without getting killed. And then we'll turn back and take one more photo of the new political class elite predator area.